Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we are really going into the trenches. We're tackling a scenario that I think every single SAP consultant, from, the junior analyst to the 20-year platinum architect, has faced at least once. It starts innocently enough. You're in a conference room, maybe it's a Tuesday morning, the coffee hasn't quite kicked in yet, and the client looks at you across the table and drops the bomb. They say, "We need a new order type."
It's the classic request, we need a ZNAW.
And usually the sentence that follows is something like, just copy the standard order, copy or rename it ZNAW and we'll be done by lunch. It sounds so simple.
Yeah.
It sounds like a 5-minute configuration job. You think Control-C, Control-V, bill the hours. But looking at the stack of research and, frankly, horror stories we have in front of us today, that instinct to just copy-paste is actually a trap, isn't it?
It is a massive trap. Honestly, it's one of the most dangerous traps in the SAP sales and distribution world, specifically because it looks so harmless on the surface.
Right.
You think it's just a label, it's just a bucket to put different orders in. But when you create a new document type, you are not just changing a label. You are fundamentally deviating from the standard order-to-cash cycle. You're messing with the physics of the system.
Physics, that sounds pretty intense for a drop-down menu item.
Well, think of it this way. The standard or order type is the foundation of a very specific house. It has plumbing that goes to the kitchen, wiring that goes to the living room.
Okay.
If the client wants a new order type, they're effectively asking for a new structure, maybe a pool house, maybe a detached garage. If you just copy the foundation of the main house, the OR, without understanding why they need that new structure, you're going to end up with, plumbing that doesn't connect to a drain or doors that open into brick walls, or worse, a collapse when you try to turn on the water.
I love that image of doors opening into brick walls. Feels very Alice in Wonderland, but with more spreadsheets.
That's literally what happens in the data. You break the reporting, you break the inventory logic, or you break the billing interface. I mean, this isn't just configuration, this is architecture.
Yeah.
And if you do it poorly, the system might let you save the order. It might smile and give you a green success message.
Yeah.
But the finance team is going to be screaming at you 3 weeks later because the general ledger is wrong, and they can't close the month.
Which brings us to our mission for this deep dive. We're going to move way beyond the basic click here, click there configuration. We're not reading the help menu. We're going to look at the architectural implications, the integration points, and the specific gotchas that make the difference between a successful go live and a resume-generating event.
Yeah.
We have a stack of expert notes here that breaks this down into phases, so let's get into it.
Let's do it.
So phase 1 involves zero configuration. The sources call this the blueprint, or my favorite, the consultant's interrogation.
I love that phrasing, interrogation, because that is what it needs to be. You have to be a detective.
So why can't we just start building? If I know they need a ZNEW, why can't I just go into the IMG and start clicking?
Because the moment you touch the keyboard, you are making assumptions. And in SAP, assumptions are expensive. Before you even log into the development client, you have to map the deviation. Why is the standard process not working? Why isn't OR good enough?
Okay.
The guide we have here lists 5 critical questions that you have to answer before you do anything. And I mean anything.
Okay, let's unpack these questions because I feel like this is where the project usually goes off the rails right at the start. Question number 1. The sales process lifecycle.
Right. This is the where are we going question. It sounds philosophical, but it's purely mechanical. Does this new ZNEW order lead to a physical delivery of goods, or is it order-related billing?
Give me a concrete example of the difference there. I mean, why does this system care?
Well, if you're selling a laptop, that leads to a delivery. You have to pick it off a shelf, pack it in a box, and put it on a truck. That is a delivery-related billing process. The invoice waits for the truck. But if you're selling a consulting service or a warranty or a license key, there's nothing to put on a truck. That is order-related billing.
Okay, so what happens if I mess that up? Let's say I copy the standard OR, which expects a delivery, and I use it for a service contract. What happens?
Chaos. The system will sit there waiting for you to create a delivery for a service, but you can't create a delivery because there's no weight, no volume, no shipping point, so the status of the order just stays open. It never completes.
And then the sales director pulls the open orders report at the end of the quarter.
And sees $5 million of open orders that are actually completed services, but the system thinks they are still pending shipment. Now, your pipeline reporting is completely useless. All because you copied OR without checking if the process even needed a delivery.
That is a disaster. Okay, question 2. Inventory impact.
This is huge. Does this order update stock? If
Yeah.
I sell this item, does my inventory count go down?
I would assume usually yes. If I tell something, I have less of it.
Usually, but, not always. Is it unrestricted stock? Is it special stock, like consignment? Or maybe it's a bill-only process where the goods were already shipped, fast-tracked, and we're just catching up with the paperwork.
Or like a credit memo request.
Exactly. Or maybe it's a credit memo request where we are just fixing a pricing error.
If the credit memo, no goods are moving.
Exactly. But if you copy a standard order type that triggers an availability check and a transfer of requirements, and you use it for a credit memo, the system might try to reserve stock for a financial credit. You could block inventory that you actually have available to sell, all because your credit order is hoarding it in the background.
So you could have an empty warehouse physically, but the system says you have 500 units. Or the other way around.
It happens all the time. I'd say inventory drift is almost always caused by bad order type configuration at some level.
Question 3. References. This one feels like a compliance issue.
It is. Can this order stand alone? Or must it reference a preceding document? Think about a call-off.
A call off.
Yeah, like a release order. Imagine you have a contract with a customer to buy 1,000 widgets this year at a special price. They call you up in March and say, send me 50. That order must reference the contract.
Why? Why is that a must?
Because if you allow them to create a standalone ZNEAW order without the reference, two things happen. One, they might get the wrong price. But two, and this is more important, you lose the consumption tracking. The contract still says 1,000 remaining because the 50 you just shipped didn't decrement the contract.
You're breaking the chain of evidence.
Precisely. And if you get audited, or if the customer tries to order another 1,000 at the end of the year, you have no proof they already took their allocation. Data integrity is just gone.
Question 4. Pricing scope. This seems straightforward. Money is money, right?
Money is money, but the logic is variable. Does this use the standard pricing procedure, or does it need a specific subset? Maybe this new order type is for employee sales. You don't want the standard wholesale pricing procedure triggering. You don't want the volume discount, the partner rebate, or the surcharges. You might need a completely stripped down pricing logic
Right.
if you copy standard or you bring all that heavy pricing baggage with you.
And finally, number 5. Output and EDI.
This one often gets forgotten until the very end. Does this order trigger a special acknowledgement? For example, if this order comes in via EDI electronic data interchange, do we need to send back an IDOC, specifically an ORDRSP, an order response?
And if we don't, what happens?
If we don't, the customer system might assume the order failed. They might resend it. Now you have duplicate orders. Or if you just copy standard OR, it might trigger the standard print output. So you end up printing a piece of paper in the mailroom that nobody needs, while the customer is waiting for a digital handshake that never comes.
So before we even touch transaction VOV8, we need a map, a literal map.
You need a process flow diagram. You have to draw it out on a whiteboard. ZNEW goes to delivery type LF, which goes to invoice type F2, or ZNEW goes directly to invoice F2. You need to see the chain visually. If you can't draw it, you can't build it. And if you can't build it on paper, don't even try to build it in SAP.
That is a great rule of thumb. Okay, let's say we've done our interrogation. We have grilled the client. We have our map. Now and only now are we allowed to touch the keyboard. We are moving into phase 2. The control center, transaction VOV8.
The cockpit. This is where the magic happens and where the disasters are born.
I'm looking at a screenshot of VOV8 in the notes here. It is a wall of checkboxes and 4 character codes. It's intimidating.
It should be. This screen controls the header behavior of the sales order.
The source material calls the SD document category. That's field VBTYP, the DNA of the document.
That sounds pretty serious.
It is the most critical field on the screen. It's a single character code. C is for order. I is for order without charge. H is for returns. K is for credit memos. And the expert note here has a big warning in bold letters. Do not mess with this.
Listen, that single letter controls hard-coded behavior in the ABAP program SAPMV45A. That is the massive, ancient main program that runs sales order processing. If you decide to get creative and say, oh, I'll use category H for my standard sales because I like the letter H, the system is going to try to behave like a return.
Oh, no.
It will flip the algebraic signs on the quantity. It will look for different referencing rules. You cannot configure your way out of a wrong document category. You have to respect the DNA.
So if it looks like a duck and quacks like a duck, label it C for order.
Exactly.
Let's talk about some of these checkboxes. Item division. The notes mention this is a subtle one that catches people out.
This is a classic gotcha. In SAP, you have a division at the header level, say electronics, and a division at the item level, say service.
Okay, so I'm selling a TV electronics and an extended warranty service on the same order.
Right. Now, in VOV8, there is a checkbox called Item Division. If you check that box, the header division dominates. It forces everything in the order to be treated as electronics.
Is that bad?
It can be. If your finance team tracks revenue by division and you force the warranty into the electronics division, you are misreporting revenue. The services VP is going to look at his P&L and see $0, and the electronics VP is going to get a bonus for revenue she didn't actually earn.
Oh, wow. Office politics via configuration.
Exactly. If you uncheck that box, the item division takes precedence. The TV goes to electronics, the warranty goes to service. Everyone gets paid correctly. For complex, multi-division businesses, unchecking that box is often mandatory.
Now, here's a practical tip from the notes. Sales document block.
Yes, this is a go-live safety tip. When you are configuring this new ZNEW order type in your production environment or moving the transport in, you don't want users trying to use it before you're ready.
Right, you don't want some eager sales rep finding ZNEW in the dropdown and clicking it while you're still testing things in the background.
Precisely. So you set a block in VOV8. It makes the order type locked for creation. You only remove that block once the cutover is finished, and you've verified everything is working. It prevents those data spills where you have to go in and delete junk orders before the system is even live.
Speaking of safety rails, let's talk about the reference mandatory field.
Mm-hmm.
We mentioned this in the interrogation phase, but this is where you actually enforce it.
Yes. In VOV8, there is a field called reference mandatory. You can set it to G, which means contract. If you do that, the user literally cannot create the order unless they select a valid contract first. It's not a suggestion, it's a hard gate. The system throws an error. Creation without reference not allowed.
I love hard gates. It stops the I forgot excuse cold.
It forces compliance.
What about the credit limit check? My instinct is always check credit. Why wouldn't we?
Well, imagine the ZNEW order type is for internal consumption. You are moving stock from your warehouse to your showroom for a display. The customer on the order is your own company code. Do you want the system to block that order because your own internal customer card has exceeded its credit limit?
No, that would be annoying and completely pointless. I'm not going to sue myself for non-payment.
Exactly. It stops the business flow for no reason. So for internal processes or maybe free of charge samples, you often leave that check credit limit field blank in VOV8. You explicitly tell the system, look away, do not check credit here.
Let's talk about the shipping and billing defaults in VOV8. Immediate delivery. That sounds efficient. Why is it marked as a huge risk in these notes?
The X flag for immediate delivery means as soon as you hit save on the order, the system tries to create the delivery document in the background instantly.
Right, sounds great for a cash sale or a rush order. I want it out the door now.
It is great for those specific low-volume scenarios, but think about what happens physically in the database. When you save an order, you're locking the customer credit record, the material availability record, and the number range object.
Okay, just for a moment.
For a moment, yes. If you flag immediate delivery, you are essentially doubling that transaction scope. You are forcing the system to then go lock the shipping point, the route determination tables, and the warehouse request tables, all in a single synchronous commit.
So you're turning a 200 millisecond save into a 2-second save.
Exactly. And if you have 50 sales reps hitting enter at the same time, or an interface pushing 500 orders a minute, deadlock. The system freezes. That little X checkbox can bring down a Fortune 500 company on Black Friday.
That is terrifying. Just one checkbox.
Just one checkbox. So you have to use it with extreme caution. Usually it's better to let the order save and then have a background job run every, say, 5 minutes to create deliveries in batches. It smooths out the load.
And one more expert tip here. Order-related billing type. The expert says to fill this field, even if you think the process is only delivery-related. Why would you do that?
Future-proofing. You might build the ZNEW for selling widgets, which are delivery-related, but 6 months later, someone adds a service line item, like an installation fee, to the order.
Right. And services don't have deliveries.
Exactly. That service line item needs to be billed directly from the order. If you left the order-related billing type field blank in VOV8 because you thought we only sell widgets, that service line will never be billed. It will just sit there free of charge forever. By filling that default F2 or F1 in there, you ensure that if a service line ever sneaks in, the system knows how to bill it.
That is the kind of insight that saves you from a really awkward meeting with the CFO a year later when he asks why installation revenue is zero.
Exactly. It's all about anticipating change.
All right, so we've built the shell, we've configured the header in VOV8. But the source material says a sales document type is just an empty shell without item categories. We are moving to phase 3, the engine.
The header is the envelope. The item category is the letter inside. It controls what the system actually does with that line item.
And there's a formula for this. Item category determination. I remember studying this for my certification and absolutely hating it.
It's the periodic table of SAPSD. You have to know it. The system needs to decide. Okay, you put material X on order type ZNEW. What item category do I use?
And the formula is, quiz me.
It's a combination of 4 inputs. Order type is 1. What are the others?
Item category group from the material master. Usage the high-level item category.
You nailed it. Order type plus item category group plus usage plus high-level item category, default item category.
Let's break that down with a real-world example because high-level item category sounds like gibberish to a normal person. Let's look at the free goods flow from the source.
Sure. So imagine we are selling a hammer. The order type is ZNEW. The item category group on the hammer's material master is norm for standard item.
So ZNUW plus norm.
If it's a standard sale, the usage is blank. So ZNEW plus norm equals TAN. TAN is the standard item category. It has a price, it has a cost.
Simple enough.
But let's say we have a promotion. Buy 10 hammers, get 1 free. The pricing engine triggers a free goods determination. When it adds that free hammer to the order, it injects a usage code called free E.
So now the formula changes.
Right. Now the system asks ZNUW plus norm plus free. And in the config table, that's VOV4, we tell SAP, if you see that combination, don't use TAN, use TAN.
And TAN is the magic code for free of charge.
Right. And TAN has different settings in its own transaction, VOV7. Specifically, pricing is set to B, which means 100% discount or maybe not active at all. So the user doesn't have to manually zero out the price. The item category drives the behavior automatically.
Let's look at the definition details in VOV7. There are some critical flags here. Billing relevance. This is another one where if you pick the wrong letter, you just don't get paid.
This determines when we bill. A means delivery related. You can't bill until you ship. B means order related. You bill based on the order quantity immediately.
And what about G?
G is interesting. It's order related billing based on a planned quantity. This is often used for contracts. But the key takeaway is, if you get this wrong, you either bill too early, sending an invoice before the truck has even left, or you can't bill at all because the system is waiting for a trigger that never comes.
And schedule line allowed. This is just a checkbox.
If that box isn't checked, the item has no connection to logistics, it won't have a delivery date, it won't check availability.
So for a service item, that's fine.
For a service, it's perfect. But for a physical good, if you uncheck that, you've effectively turned a product into a text note. It will never ship, the warehouse will never see it. It exists purely as a comment line on the order.
Which transitions perfectly to the next phase, the logistics. The schedule line. We've gone from the header, which is the house, to the item, the furniture, and now we are down to, what is the schedule line? The moving truck.
The schedule line is the heartbeat of logistics. This is where sales shakes hands with materials management, with MM. It tells the warehouse when to move the stuff and, crucially, how to account for it.
Movement types like 601, 671. I mean, these numbers mean nothing to a sales rep, but they mean everything to a warehouse manager.
These numbers dictate the accounting. 601 is the standard goods issue. When you ship the product, 601 tells the system, reduce inventory by 1 and debit cost of goods sold. It hits the general ledger.
Okay, that's the standard.
651 is for returns. It brings stock back into inventory. 631 is for consignment fill-up. It moves stock from your warehouse to the customer site, but it still belongs to you.
The source mentions a custom scenario here that I found really interesting, a samples without inventory update.
Yeah, this is a common requirement that stumps people. The client says, we want to send samples to a trade show. We want the warehouse to pick and ship them like a normal order, but we don't want it to hit cost of goods sold. We want to expense it immediately to a marketing budget.
So you can't use the standard 601.
Yeah.
Because 601 is hardwired to Cogis.
Exactly. If you use 601, the CFO will yell at you because his gross margin is skewed. So what you do is you create a custom movement type, say, 901. You copy 601 to 901.
And then what?
In the finance mapping, that's transaction OBYC, you tell the system, when movement type 901 happens, don't hit the standard QBS account, hit the marketing expense GL instead.
That is clever. So the warehouse guys just see pick and ship. They don't care about the accounting. But the finance backend treats it completely differently.
Exactly. And that is controlled entirely by the schedule line category. If you don't understand that link, you can't solve that business problem. You'd be trying to fix it with manual journal entries at the end of every month, and the accountants would absolutely hate you.
We are getting deeper and deeper. Okay, phase 4, the nervous system, copy controls.
VTAA, VTLA, VTFA. These are the transaction codes for copy controls. Order to order, order to delivery, order to billing.
Why do you call this the nervous system?
Because it carries the signal.
Right.
If you pinch a nerve in your neck, your hand goes numb. If you mess up copy controls, the data in your order doesn't reach the delivery.
The expert source calls this the failure point. Why does it fail so often?
Because it requires explicit mapping. Imagine you create your ZNEW order. It has item category TAN. You try to create a delivery. The system looks at the copy control table and asks, okay, I see TAN in the order. What should I create in the delivery?
And if that mapping is blank?
The process dies. You get an error message, or worse, the item just doesn't appear in the delivery at all. It gets left behind.
The notes mentioned data transfer routines, or VOFM routines. Routine 051 and 101. These sound like droids from Star Wars.
There are little snippets of ABOUT logic attached to the copy control. They control what data gets copied. Routine 051 is usually for header data. It says, copy the PO number, copy the sold to party, copy the Incoterms from the source.
So if my PO number isn't carrying over from my order to my delivery, it's probably routine 051.
It's almost certainly the copy control routine, yes. Or maybe someone put a custom requirement in there that says only copy of today's Friday. You'd be surprised what you find in legacy code.
Now here is a specific field that the notes flag as critical, the pricing type. This is in the copy control from order to billing, VTFA.
Oh, yes. This causes so many arguments between customer service and finance. When you copy a document, say, creating a credit memo, referencing an invoice, how should the pricing behave?
There are options. I just assumed it copied the price.
There are huge options. Option B means recalculate everything. It pretends the order is being created today. It goes out, fetches the price list as of today, and applies it.
Wait a minute. If I bought a widget 3 months ago for $100 and I'm returning it today, but the price is now $80, and you use option B.
The system will credit you $80.
But I paid $100.
Exactly. And you are going to be furious. You're going to call customer support, and you are going to scream.
That's a total disaster.
But if the price went up to $120, the company would be refunding you more than you paid. Either way, it's wrong.
So what's the right answer? What do you use?
For returns and credits, you typically use pricing type G, copy pricing elements unchanged. It takes a snapshot of what they actually paid, the $100, and copies it exactly, no questions asked.
And C, what's that for?
C is copy manual elements, recalculate the rest. That's useful if a sales rep manually entered a discount on the quote and you want to preserve that specific discount on the order, but maybe refresh the base price list.
This detail. Pricing type G for returns. And it seems like one of those things where if you don't know it, you can't possibly guess it.
You definitely don't want to learn that one the hard way. The hard way involves a class action lawsuit from customers who got under-refunded.
Moving into phase 5. Advanced integration. Pricing and GL. We talked about pricing procedures briefly, but there's an expert trick here involving the doc pricing procedure field in VOV8.
Right. Standard orders usually use doc pricing procedure A, but let's say your ZNEW order is for a very specific intercompany transfer logic. It has totally different surcharges, maybe a weird tax calculation, maybe a markup that only applies to internal transfers.
You don't want to clutter your main pricing procedure with all that junk.
Exactly. You don't want the pricing procedure that runs your main retail sales to check for intercompany markup every single time. It slows down the system and makes maintenance a complete nightmare.
So what's the trick? What do you do?
In VOV8, for your ZNEW type, you change the doc pricing procedure to a new key, say, Z. Then, in the pricing determination, which is OVKK, you say, if sales area is X and doc pricing is Z, trigger pricing procedure ZNEW01.
So you sequester the complexity, you put all the weird stuff in its own sandbox?
Exactly. You keep your main pricing procedure clean, fast, and simple, and you build a custom pricing procedure just for this new document type.
And what about account determination, the GL? How do we make sure ZNEW hits service revenue instead of sales revenue?
This happens in transaction VKOA. You have a few levers. You can use the account assignment group on the material or the customer, but sometimes you are selling the same material to the same customer, but because it's a ZNEW order, maybe a warranty replacement, you want it to hit a different GL.
Can you do that? Can the order type drive the GL account?
Indirectly, yes. You can drive it by the account key in the pricing procedure. In your special ZNEW01 pricing procedure, you assign a different account key, say ZSV, instead of the standard URL. Then in VCOA, you map ZSV to the service revenue GL.
That is slick. It allows you to segment revenue without having to change the master data.
Correct. It keeps the master data clean.
Okay, we're getting into the really nerdy stuff now. The next phase is where config hits a wall. User exits. ABAP.
Sometimes the standard switches just aren't enough. You need custom logic. In SAPSD, the holy grail of custom logic is the include program MV45AFZZ.
MV45AFZZ. It sounds like a secret code. Or sneeze.
It basically is a secret code. Think of the standard SAP sales order code as a high-speed train on a fixed track. You can't steer it. It goes where SAP programmed it to go. But MV45AFZZ, that's a set of specific junctions where SAP laid down empty track and said, okay, you can divert the train here, do something crazy, and then bring it back to the main line.
But if you derail it on that sidetrack,
the whole train crashes. The sales order transaction dumps. That's why it's so powerful and so dangerous.
the source gives 3 use cases. Let's look at the first one. Validation. Prevent save if net value is less than $100.
This is a classic minimum order value rule. You can't do this easily with standard config. So you go into MV45ASCZ, specifically into the user exits of document prepare.
That sounds like exactly the right place. Prepare to save.
It runs right before the commit. You write a few lines of ABP. If document type is ZNUW and net value is less than 100, give an error message. It stops the save dead in its tracks. The user cannot proceed until they add more items.
Use case 2. Field modification. Gray out the PO number.
Maybe for this specific ZNUW order, the PO number is auto-generated by an interface and shouldn't be touched by human hands. You go to user exit field modification. You check if the order type is ZNUW, and you set the screen input to 0 for that field. It makes it read-only.
Wait, isn't that dangerous? What if the data in the field is wrong? You've just locked the user out of fixing it.
That's the trade-off. You choose data integrity over user flexibility. If you gray it out, you better be 100% sure your automation filled it correctly.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're going to get a ticket from a user saying, the PO number is wrong and I can't change it.
And use case 3. Auto-population. Force shipping condition to truck.
User exit move field back. This runs when the header data is being initialized. You can force logic like, if ZNUW, always set shipping condition to Z01 truck, ignoring whatever is on the customer master. It overrides the defaults.
This MV45AFZZ seems incredibly powerful, but you mentioned the train crash. What's the biggest risk?
Performance. If you write bad code there, like a select statement that scans a massive table or an infinite loop, you slow down every sales order creation in the system because that code runs for everyone, not just ZNEW, unless you wrap it in an IF statement. I've seen systems where hitting save took 30 seconds because of bad code in this user exit.
Yikes. So code review is mandatory.
Absolutely mandatory.
Which leads us to the final phase, the survival guide. Testing and troubleshooting. The notes say, don't just test the happy path.
Everyone tests the happy path. Create order, delivery, invoice. Look, it works. Ship it to production. That's easy. You have to test the sad paths.
The sad paths. I like that. The make the consultant cry paths.
You have to try to break it. TC007 in the notes is a negative test. Try to create the order without a reference when you set it to mandatory in VOV8.
It should fail.
Exactly. And if it allows you to save, you failed the test. You have to verify the controls are working. You have to play the role of the dumbest, laziest user imaginable.
GC004. Post-goods issue. Why is this a key test case?
Because this is where the financial posting happens. You need to check not just that the goods issue posted, but go into the accounting document. Did it credit inventory? Did it debit COGS? Did it hit the right COGS account?
Right. Just because it posted doesn't mean it posted correctly.
Exactly. If you skip this, you might find out at month-end close that all your costs went to a dummy account or a suspense account, and finance has to spend 3 days reclassifying entries.
Now let's talk about moving this to production. Transport management. The notes warn about table entry not found errors.
This is a classic rookie mistake. You create your order type in one transport request, or TR. You create your copy controls in a different TR. If you move the copy control TR before the order type TR, the system in QA will say, I can't create a copy control for ZNUW because ZNUW doesn't exist yet. The transport fails.
So the sequence matters.
Sequence is everything. The strategy in the notes is solid. You move things in this order. 1, structural config, so the order type itself. 2, assignments and determinations like item cat determination. 3, copy controls, and 4, workbench and ABAP. If you follow that order, you won't have dependency errors.
And finally, troubleshooting, the classic issue. The copy control routine works in dev, but not in QA.
I have lost hours of my life to this. You write a VOFM routine, it works perfectly in development, you transport it to QA, it doesn't work, the logic is just ignored.
Why? Did the code just disappear?
The code is there, but it's not active. VOFM routines need to be generated in the target system. There is a specific report you have to run, RV80HGN. You have to run this report in QA and in production after the transport goes in. It recompiles the routines. If you don't run it, your code is essentially a ghost.
RV80HGEN. That is definitely going on a sticky note on my monitor.
It's a lifesaver.
And one last troubleshooting tip.
Yeah.
Cannot create a delivery.
Usually points to the schedule line category. Check VOV6 is the item relevant for delivery checkbox ticked. If it is, check the order. Is there a confirmed quantity? If the availability check failed and the confirmed quantity is 0, you can't create a delivery because there's literally nothing to deliver.
It's always the basics that trip you up.
Oh.
We have covered a massive amount of ground here, from the initial interrogation blueprinting through the DNA of VOV8, the engine of item categories, the nervous system of copy controls, all the way to ABAP, user exits, and SAD path testing.
It's a lot, but it really proves the point we started with. A new order type is not a simple copy-paste.
Let's run down the go-live summary checklist provided in the source. 1. VOV8 control set. 2. Item categories and schedule lines mapped. 3. Number ranges assigned and not overlapping.
Well, that's a good one.
4. Copy controls configured for all flows. 5. Pricing and partner determination verified. 6. User exits verified and peer-reviewed. And 7, security don't forget authorizations.
Yes, make sure users actually have the auth object VB-backcaught for the new type, or they won't even be able to see it in the dropdown.
So, expert, what is the final takeaway here? If a listener is staring at a change request for Z and UNNW right now, what is the one thing they need to remember?
Remember that a sales document type is a defined business process. It is not just a bucket for transactions. Every single switch you flip or don't flip has a cross-functional impact on inventory, on logistics, and on finance. The copy-paste method is a trap because it ignores that impact. It assumes the new process is exactly like the old one, just with a new name. And if that were true, they wouldn't need a new order type in the first place.
That's the reality check. And here's a provocative thought to leave you with. Think about your current SAP system. How many Z order types do you have that are just duplicates of OR with no real structural difference? ZOR1, ZOR2, ZDOM. How much technical debt is that creating in your reporting? How many maintenance headaches is that causing? Maybe it's time to audit your architecture.
Clean up the house.
Exactly. Thanks for diving deep with us today.
Happy configuring.
See you in the next one.